Kia ora team, my name is Alicia and I am the National Programs Manager at Netball New Zealand, which means I look after the year 1 to 8 space. With me I have my colleague Maria from Netball Wellington, and if we're very lucky we might see Irene Van Dyke. So she's from Netball Central to tell her story, but she's had a mechanical breakdown on her plane this morning, so you might get to listen to me for a little bit longer. So what we're going to talk about today is our Year 7 and 8 Player Development Program. So this is our program that replaced our Year 7 and 8 representative level. I guess, why did we do it? What was our catalyst for change? So I want everyone to have a look at this photo and just throw out some ages of how old you think these kids are. Yeah, who hit 12? There's a jackpot over there. Give her $5,000. So both of these kids are 12, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here that their development levels are different. But this is a really powerful image and one that we use in netball to help explain our change because it creates a really nice visual for people to understand why we removed Year 7 and 8 reps. Obviously, Willow here has started going through puberty first, and then our young one here, she hasn't started going through that change. So what has happened in this story here, that she will often get put in the circle. And she might not grow any taller than that, yet she could be our next Silver Fern centre. But coaches at 11 years old have decided that she's either a goal shoot or a goal keep because of where she is. So these 4 reasons here are our catalyst for change. So the first one is the Sport New Zealand Talent Plan, which has those 3 key myths that underpin the balance is better. So that early specialisation sets athletes up for future success, childhood success leads to adulthood success, and successful athletes focus on winning. So we know that those are myths, but we needed to work out how do we help our community to understand that. The voice of our participants. So our participants were telling us that player development programs would be the #1 thing that netball could do to improve their experience. So that was coming through in our voice of participant survey that was out there. And thirdly, our player welfare and injury prevention. So our 10 to 14-year-olds were our most injured players. So across the entire system, our 10 to 14-year-olds were the most injured. So, those are our young players. So we needed to do something to shift that, to change that. And then lastly, it was narrowing our system. So we were deselecting players early, saying, sorry, you're not good enough at 11. We know that our Silver Ferns, our winning World Cup team were 30, the average age was 30 years old. Some of them didn't even start netball until they were 12. So why were we selecting and deselecting kids at 11? So how did we come on the journey? So Alex said before about patience. It takes a really long time, but if we have a philosophy and we have what our drivers are, we stick to that. So we actually started with a junior netball review in 2012, and that helped to underpin our Future Fern space, which is the modified version of our game. From there, once those players rolled through the system and got to Year 7, we introduced the player development program. So that's where we started removing the Year 7 and 8 representative level. So what was the process that we went through? So we released articles every fortnight over a few months that had socialised concepts that would later underpin the reasons why we changed. We developed a player development program which was a resource with session plans and athlete development plans. So it wasn't just about the physical, but also about mental skills and about the actual development of them as people. You saw Amelia Ann talking about, not just developing them as physical, but developing them as a holistic player. We created internal alignment with our Netball New Zealand staff. So I ran a session like this, and I had them have a conversation with the person next to them, 2 minutes talking about this topic. So if someone approached them in the supermarket or somebody said to them, why are you doing this? This is ridiculous. Why are you getting rid of Year 7 and 8 reps? They were confident enough to be able to give the evidence behind why the changes had been made. So we wanted to set our marketing team, our finance team, people that know that they work for Netball New Zealand. Then we released the plan changes at our Netball New Zealand Council, which is probably what you would kind of know as your AGM or your planning days, etc., of the year that we rolled that change through. And then lastly, we work with our staff and our zones to support the centres in delivering this change, because like probably lots of you have experienced with change, there is pushback and it can be tricky. And that, a story with us is that we didn't quite get all of our ducks aligned at the beginning. That created a crack for the media to get into, and it blew up in the media. I was in my role for about 4 months by then. My boss was in Argentina. It was a pretty crazy time, but that we knew the philosophy behind why the reasons were, so that just made us work harder on the process of our change management to sell it in. So it's not without its challenges. That will happen. But if you are strong in the conviction of the evidence behind your change and you can communicate that, then it gives you that confidence to go forth. So we're really pleased with the results that have come out of it so far. So we're into 3 years of the player development program. Our participant results have improved. So we're no longer the number one reason of what they want to change in netball. So that's great. More participants are receiving development. So in the first year, we estimated that 700 extra kids received development in that first year than if those centres had rep teams. So that's 700 extra kids that are getting that growth and that opportunity to participate. We've had high participant satisfaction, so we do surveys on our participants to see are they enjoying it, what do we need to change, new iterations, etc. And then lastly, majority of our centres were providing PDP within the first 2 years. So it was an opt-in process. Everyone was going to be ready at a different time. So it was, in the first year we had 27 centres. In the second year we had 46. And then even in COVID we had 35. So I genuinely thought that it was going to be off the radar during COVID. I did not think that it was going to even happen but it did, and it showed me that it's integrated into our system now. It's just part of netball. It's what we do for our year 7 and 8s in that age group. So that's something I'm really proud of our people around the country that have really backed it and gotten behind to shift that. And so what did we learn? We learned that it's all about alignment. So get everybody that needs to be involved in this conversation. So ensure that people understand what the reasons are behind the change. Work from a strengths-based approach. So we were talking about, everyone comes to the start line at a different level, and some of our centres are not quite there even yet, but we're working with them to implement this. And whether or not they work in a cluster system as opposed to having to deliver it by themselves. So we're working with each centre individually to ensure that we get this off the ground. Be clear on the evidence behind the change. What are the reasons? Why are you doing it? And make sure you're really specific and that you are able to then share that with the people that have to communicate with the parents and the players on the ground. And then Mike alluded to this, so Alex, you must be doing a good job about this here, stick to the compass, not the clock, because that's something that's stuck in our head as well, that if we know what we are working towards and what the philosophy is, then it doesn't matter how long the change takes, because what we're doing is we're heading in the right direction. And then lastly, collaborate and lead. So work with the people that are in the system and collaborate with them and connect with them and understand what they need and how we shift this change. But also be brave enough to lead, to take that step forward, because if we don't shift and we don't start taking those steps forward, we're never going to shift the change or the quality of experience for our participants. So you've got to be brave enough to try that thing, and if that doesn't work, work on the next thing. So that's kind of where we ended up from an NSO perspective. And so I'm just going to start with some of Irene's stuff, and hopefully she'll turn up because she's got some great stories and I just don't think I can do them justice. Netball Central, which is our zones. We have 5 zones in netball. That's the bottom half of the North Island. So they have 11 out of 13 centres participating in this program. The 2 volunteer centres that don't send their participants to Manawatu to participate. So they just don't have the capability yet to deliver on their own. We have 40 to 80 participants at each program instead of 12 to 24. So that's double the amount of participants that we have in the program. And in some cases, it's even more than that. In areas like Marlborough, they have 120 players participating. So somewhere that's quite small, that may have only had 12 players in a rep team, now have 120 receiving that development. And they rolled it out over 2 years. So in the first year, they started with year 7, and then when those year 7s became year 8, they moved on to that. And can we give a round of applause to Irene Van Dyke?
Some centres had the choice of rolling it out, obviously the way it would suit them. We had Manawatu and Wellington who ran it out a 6-week program, once a week during the week. We had Hutt Valley who ran a 6-week program on a Saturday or Sunday, trying to cater for those parents who are too busy at night and then have the weekends free. We had centres who ran it as a pre-season program to activate the kids and focus on movement patterns prior to the season starting. And then we had our likes of Kapiti who ran it as a post-season program purely for those kids who do not take part in any other sports to keep them active and busy. You might ask why? Players grow and develop in different ages and stages. As you can see, those 2 girls are both 12. Yep. And obviously the smaller one, if she has big parents, the chances of her growing 6 foot tall is quite high. So to cater for the kids who grow at different stages. It provides more opportunities for more players to participate and develop. And it also wider the talent base, making sure that we keep more players in the game for longer. It also includes fundamental movement skills, athlete development, making sure that the athlete grow as a complete person, not making sure that they are just in the sport for a short time. And it focuses on technical and tactical netball skills as well, because obviously we want the players to stay in the game for a very long time, not only for when their parents tell them to stay in there, but to actually grow a love for the game. Barriers we face was no one likes change, especially if you have your people, your true traditionalists who's been in the game forever and they really wanted to stay the way it was 150 years ago. Our solution to that was provide evidence, telling them that there has been research done and that's why we want to do things. Communicate early and widely, making sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone know why we have this program. Some of our centres felt, especially our volunteer centres, they felt like their identity was getting lost because the rep team, that is their identity. And how we got around that was with all the fun fest and the festival days, we had some centres that invited the centres around them to come and take part in the fun day, which was the last day of their program. Some coaches found it really hard to coach kids with variable skill and ability levels, and that was a perfect opportunity for our coaches to upskill and use the adaptive tool to be able to coach kids with different skill and ability levels. And then individuals with reverent powers speaking out against the program in the media. The media loves a saucy story, and as soon as you change it and you have one person that kicks against it, the media is going to ask them for their opinion, and it's going to be blasted all over the papers and on the news. So for those, you really need champions of the program, the Sandra Edges, especially in our case, using her voice and saying why it is important and why we want to grow the base that we have as netball players. Boosters, why did we do this? Because we had lead centres who just led the way. They took it on board and they ran with the program. We had our volunteer centres who looked at them and go, why are we doing this? How is it getting rolled out? And is it working or is it not working? By our lead centres being the champions who always, they get stuck in and they do things for a reason. And they are the ones that normally pulls our volunteer centres along the way. It's low cost, you don't have to be a millionaire to take part in this program. There's no early specialisation, so within the program, you normally get the tall kids getting under the goalpost. No, that's not going to happen in this program because you get the players to play all the positions and it is rolling substitutions. So they get to play all the positions and it's just go all the way through. And not growing only the capability of our players but our coaches as well. So for the majority of our centres who cater for 80 kids, all of a sudden the ratio becomes 1 to 10 and you really have to find 8 coaches who can coach those kids. Not a lot of centres have 8 quality coaches, so this program actually brings the coaches along and gives them the ability and the skill to coach and be part of a six-week quality program. Oh, just a quick story while I'm on my way. I went to Carterton and presenting or introducing the 5 versus 5 game. I had the bibs in my hand and I tucked it in the ear and the kids could grab it. And one kid grabbed an attacking bib and immediately came to me and go, I can't play attack. And I was like, why? She's like, I'm a good defender. I was like, oh, that's okay, just give it a go. It's just for fun. And Mum, bless the parents, Mum was so and Mum got up and Mum said to me, she's an amazing defender. And I was like, I have no doubt she's amazing, but hey, we're just playing, it doesn't matter. I said to her, out of interest, how long has your child been playing netball? 2 seasons? I was like, right. I was like, it's okay, let's just have a go. And as the mother, I was like, just hold on a second. I know this is really politically incredibly incorrect. I asked the mother, how tall is your husband? And she said, oh, my height, which is normal. I'm clearly not normal, but she's normal height. And I said to her, you know what? And the kid is very athletic and bigger and taller than the other kids. And I could completely understand why the mother rated her as a silver fern already. And I said to her, you know what? Your child is 10 years old. She might be big and strong for this age. In 2 years' time, when she hits puberty and goes to intermediate, she could potentially be the shortest in the team. And the only thing you would have taught her then is to be a defender, to see the game from this side. Whereas if you teach her now at this age to be a centre, to take the centre pass, to be an attacker, to come off the line, to learn how to use her body and movement, then you have literally given her so many tools up her back pocket that it doesn't matter where they put her when she's 12 or 13. But at this point in time, I think you should just let her play everything. Mother's reaction, fine. Okay. Needless to say, I haven't been back to ask how she's going. And just a quick other story. Went to the festival day in Wellington, and I had 2 fathers happen to stand between 2 men. And one of the fathers were like, oh, this is just a blessing in disguise. And I was like, what do you mean? And he showed me his daughter, incredibly athletic kid. She's one of those kids that are just great at every sport she takes part in. And he says, so when she goes to school, she's one of the leaders as well. She gets to choose who's in a team. She never picks someone that can't catch a ball. She always picks the best ones because she wants to win. And he was like, even at home, trying to teach her empathy and, to be inclusive, no go. Whereas here, she got forced to be in a team with people from other schools, from different ability groups, and all of a sudden she had to learn to pass a gentle pass, not to kill the other kid, but to actually, just be part of the team. And the other dad was like, the other spectrum, so the kid can't catch or pass. Okay, no, not that bad. But the kid was one that had to, get the softer pass. And he was like, the first day after going back, after their game, he said to her, what's it like? And she pointed at this other girl and was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be that good. I want to be that good. I want to be like her, who can run and pass and know where to go and which line to stop at and how to play. So again, it is kids learning from other kids and having a fantastic experience.
So I'm Maria, and I'm going to take you through a journey through the steps that we took on our evolution of our on-the-ground PDP delivery journey. So first, I'd best explain how we operate in Wellington. Netball Wellington Centre was one of the first lead centres, as explained, to roll out this PDP. Our centre oversees three volunteer-run junior satellites who deliver netball in the year 0 to 8 space, whereas our centre paid staff deliver netball in the year 9 to adult space. Our three satellites cover a wide geographical area. Each varies in size and structure. Collectively, they cater to 62 schools. The largest satellite has 31 affiliated schools, while the smallest one has 11. Each satellite previously oversaw their own year 7 and 8 reps and took great pleasure in competing against one another. This history spurred the tendency to exist in competition with one another, hence a long-standing habit of working non-collaboratively. The sheer fact that all three satellites collectively jumped on board to embrace the PDP is a credit to themselves for setting aside glory to grow good grassroots netball. In order to engage volunteer satellites in this new initiative, it took a step-by-step approach. There was resistance, yet with the centre, zone and national body forming a united front, we chipped away bit by bit. The first step is consultation. Listen. Respect volunteers have a choice and they can say no. We invested time connecting with the right people within each satellite, and then through time and through them, we engaged schools and parents. Consultation every step of the way was, and still is, key. To understand pushback, it helps to put yourselves in their volunteer shoes. Hear and understand their concerns. You'll likely find to them, new initiatives can be more demand on their unpaid time. We were pleasantly surprised to hear that our satellites were all too familiar with the downside of reps. Fallout over trial selection, interactions with passionate parents, and increased expense meant some embraced the disestablishment of reps with quiet relief. Work with the willing and help those people establish themselves as dedicated PDP coordinators who help drive progress within the satellites. In the first season of concentrated effort, we went into re-educating people, and that was backed by the Centre, the Zone and Netball New Zealand continuously, singing the praises of the PDP philosophy. Second step, find your champions. Gone into that already. Once a PDP coordinator is established, work hard to get all who embrace the concept on board to help promote. Best spokespeople tend to be those already respected in the community. Teachers, parents, coaches, the closer to grassroots and visibly advocating for kids, the better. Star power does help. Sandra Edge happens to be my Netball Wellington Centre colleague, and she works in our emerging talent space. We're grateful that she believes in and actively endorses a balance is better philosophy. As an ex-Silver Fern, often singled out as one of the best, it's not commonly known that she wasn't selected for netball reps until her final year of high school. Prior to that, she was into gymnastics, athletics, and played plenty of netball for school, yet her first rep selection was for tennis. She constantly credits cross-code skills to be her success. Getting parents on side is also vital. Word of mouth is so powerful. Parents are won over by visual, tangible proof. Show them that their child is laughing, smiling, motivated to attend and engage, a surge in self-confidence, becoming more socially outgoing, and they're hard-pressed not to become a PDP fan. Third step, support versus encouragement. It's less about hands-on doing it for your volunteers. It's more about encouraging and empowering them to take ownership of the program themselves. As a centre, we outlined how we can support, yet it was far more important to encourage our satellites to see that they have untapped resources within to manage themselves. Help them realise the key outcomes of the PDP are fun and achievable. Engagement, inclusion, learning, socialisation, all facilitated through the medium of sport. It's important to reassure their common concerns. What skills do we coach? That was the first one. An easy solution is that it was an easy solution given Netball New Zealand compiled a comprehensive 60-page coaching resource. Our role was to make sure satellites were aware of, had free access to it, and understood how to use it. When our satellites indicated there was still a little confusion around how to deliver the recommended content, we arranged weekly Zoom sessions to discuss activities and provided on-screen demonstrations, which were a bit of a laugh, prior to delivery to help boost confidence. This form of encouragement was manageable, enjoyable, and brought welcome relief. Another key concern, where will we find coaches? We shoulder tapped within our college and club coach community. We shared coach wanted adverts on our centre website and Facebook. Direct approaches proved flattering and hard to decline. Run coaching workshops is also another thing that we did to upskill those that were keen. Small gestures also go down well, such as supplying printed copies of the coach resource. It is 60 pages, takes a bit of money to print, and loaning equipment, taking advantage of bulk orders to source discount equipment as well. The most rewarding give back is organising the Finale Fun Fest mini tournament as a small thank you. It takes pressure off our satellites to arrange one themselves and brings everyone together to play and showcases skills learnt during the PDP. Players, coaches and parents regularly rate the Fun Fest as the highlight of their PDP experience. Final step, planned rollout. Opt for a gentle phase out rather than ruffle feathers imposing blanket bans. Timing is key. Introduce new initiatives early to counter a natural aversion to change. In Wellington, the first year the PDP rolled out to year 7, while year 8 reps remained unchanged. After the pilot the following year, PDP encompassed both year 7 and 8. Reps were no more, with surprisingly little pushback. For the first 2 years, the same PDP format was maintained, whereby the program ran end of season over 6 Sunday sessions to allow satellites to get their main focus, Saturday winter competition, out of the way, without stretching resources. In 2020, due to COVID, the same later timing still suited, yet the sessions were condensed to just 3 weekly Sunday sessions. This year, the shortened format was retained, yet timing was shifted to the start of the season in response to feedback asking for participants to get the chance to put skills learnt into practice during the season, playing in their school teams. One tweak at a time makes it all the more manageable. Following on from that point, there's a couple more tips to help with smooth sailing. Accommodate the kid in the bush. By this, I mean remove barriers to participation. As Irene mentioned, the PDP is not one size fits all, and you won't get far introducing a new initiative by being too rigid. The kid in the bush actually refers to a true story where a kid attending day 1 was so overwhelmed they disappeared, only to be found hiding in a bush. What was the root problem? Well, common story for this age group, social anxiety. Had they had at least one familiar face in their group, we could have avoided distress, avoided a search party, and fear that they may never come back again. Feedback indicates the number 1 appeal of the PDP for year 7 and 8 is socialising with friends and the chance to make new friends from schools outside their own after day 1. The chance to mandatorily mix puts kids in a better social headspace for the looming transition to college. Don't be afraid to adapt to suit the needs of your community. On the flip side, coaches welcome the challenge to break from their norm. Small schools may have one team, meaning coaches get to know players far too well, especially if they're coaching their own kid through primary and intermediate school. Feedback from coaches celebrates extending their skill set through exposure to a variety of new players and skill levels, along with learning from other like-minded coaches. Number 2 tip, piggyback where available. While titled a player development program, coaches and umpires also benefit, so it's wise to market more broadly. Explore add-ons and leverage off events you already have in your calendar, merely widening learning opportunities to appeal to a wider audience. For coaches, sell the fact they acquire a resource full of engaging activities. They can be mentored by or shadow experienced coaches. They may also ease into coaching by first learning through observation. For umpires, we introduced them into our Fun Fest as a bonus development opportunity, allowing additional practical experience to grow their whistle-blowing confidence. A rewarding story from this year involves a satellite, realising 3 student coaches and 7 umpires have returned to offer their support after completing the PDP themselves. Speaks volumes that previous attendees want to give back to the program again. Finally, not everyone will love change. Don't worry if you don't convert them all, yet savour the wins. That one small satellite that started out super cautious and resistant now leads the way after doubling in size from 28 to 56 attendees. They now match our largest satellites' attendee numbers despite being 1/3 their size and managed to retain the same core coaches 4 years running. Impressive. That previously timid kid finding their fire in their belly, pleasing their coach to no end when seen striving to regain loose ball at the Fun Fest. Cherry on top, their proud parents were sidelined to witness their child's transformation. Those 2 cool kids forced to stick out the 3-week program despite repeatedly voicing they were too good. They played in the final Fun Fest and admitted they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. Going ahead was PDP during level 2, surprising all how valued PDP has become despite trying times. We firmly believe sport participation should be a reward in itself, not a means for future stardom. When it comes to the best interests of the Year 7 and 8 age group and helping them stay actively engaged for the long haul, balance really is better. Thank you for your time.